A large rose tree stood near the entrance of the garden. The roses growing on it were white, but there were 3 gardeners at it, busily painting them red. Alice thought this a very curious thing, and she went near to watch them. "Alice, would you tell me why you are painting those roses?" "To what effect is, you see, miss, this here ought to have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake, and if the Queen was to find it out, we should all have our heads cut off, you know. So you see, miss, we're doing our best afore she comes to." At this moment, Five, who had been anxiously looking across the garden, called out, "Five, the Queen! The Queen!" The Queen turned crimson with fury, and after glaring at her for a moment like a wild beast, screamed, "Queen, off with her head! Off!" The novel Alice in Wonderland features Queen Heart. The Queen, who is absolutely in power in Wonderland, is the Heart Queen of the trump card. Gardens, soldiers, and waiters who follow the route are all cards too. She is famous for her sentence, "Hit their necks." The Queen is angry all day and shouts at the people around her without a break. Anyone who defies the Queen's will, goes against her will, or makes her uncomfortable, cuts her throat without hesitation for a second. Alice meets gardeners who are painting white roses red. The gardeners do their best to please the Queen without going against her will. Yes, Queen Heart is a very characteristic narcissist. The narcissist is angry because he can't stand it, unless he gets special treatment. She expresses her anger to show her superiority, just like Queen Heart hit the cards in the neck. And the figures around Queen Heart all move around her, looking around her. With a live flamingo, a croquet game with a live hedgehog as a ball has begun. The players all played at once without waiting for turns, quarreling all the while, and fighting for the hedgehogs. And in a very short time the Queen was in a furious passion, and went stamping about, and shouting, "Off with his head," or "Off with her head," about once in a minute. Alice began to feel very uneasy. To be sure, she had not as yet had any dispute with the Queen, but she knew that it might happen any minute. Alice, and then, what would become of me? They're dreadfully fond of beheading people here. The great wonder is that there is anyone left alive. She was looking about for some way of escape, and wondering whether she could get away without being seen, when she noticed a curious appearance in the air. It puzzled her very much at first, but after watching it a minute or two, she made it out to be a grin, and she said to herself, "Alice, it's the Cheshire Cat. Now I shall have somebody to talk to. Cat, how are you getting on?" "Alice, I don't think they play it all fairly, and they all quarrel so dreadfully one can't hear oneself speak, and they don't seem to have any rules in particular. At least, if there are, nobody attends to them, and you've no idea how confusing it is, all the things being alive. For instance, there's the arch I've got to go through next, walking about at the other end of the ground, and I should have croqueted the Queen's hedgehog just now, only it ran away when it saw mine coming. The Queen is so extremely likely to win that it's hardly worthwhile finishing the game." Alice, who was playing the game, soon finds out that the game is a mess with no rules, and eventually the Queen has no choice but to win. Except for Queen Heart, all the players were either losing the game or cutting their throats. Knowing the situation, Alice begins to find a way to escape. When we arrive in a strange country where the narcissist is in power, we start off with a hard game. But no matter how hard I try, the game is unfair, and I realize that I have no choice but to lose. What's even more strange is the people who are participating in the game together. They don't even stand up to the narcissist. They just try their best to please the narcissist even in unfair situations. And they stay with the narcissist in the hope that the other person will be the victim. If you're married and your mother-in-law or father-in-law is a narcissist, arriving in this wonderland is quite embarrassing. When I go to a meeting and see a queen bee dominating the meeting and everyone curry favor with her, it's as absurd and embarrassing as Alice is. Have you ever experienced an organization, family, or group controlled by someone like Queen Heart? At times like this, we need to be like Cheshire Cats. The Cheshire Cat helps Alice to objectively look at strange and ridiculous situations. And Alice also shows the courage to be unyielding to power. Alice eventually wakes up from her dream, running away from Queen Heart. I'd like to say one last word to Alice for those who are in a situation where they have to deal. When Alice is afraid, she tells herself, "Why, they're only a pack of cards after all. I needn't be afraid of them."